This video is partly about the Behringer SL75c and the XM8500, and partly about leaning into crap gear and especially not dismissing it because it is synonymous with poor quality. These days, that's just not true of brands like Behringer. Their stuff is getting better because tech is getting better, and I think generally they've accumulated expertise through the purchase of other companies like Midas, which, if you look really carefully, is plastered on everything. I wonder when they'll stop flogging that dead horse. Setting out to make this video about the mics, I looked at what had already been done and noticed there's a lot of comparisons of these microphones with the Shure SM57 and 58. Now, despite the fact that they look like emulations of those microphones, I mean, let's face it, they are, they definitely don't sound like them, and at $45 each, I don't think there's any point comparing them or trying to EQ them to make them sound like a Shure. I would argue if you want the sound of an SM57, just go and get one. Or if you can't afford one, get these and lean into them. Learn them intimately and make good music. I'm going to show you that these are actually excellent microphones for the price, and the thing that will most likely impact your impressions of them will be the audio interface you're using. Oh, and for added comparison, this narration will switch between the two microphones. I'm also going to show you how this sounds on a Behringer interface. So I'm currently recording this through an Apogee interface with world-class preamps. But I want to show you what it'll sound like on a Behringer and explore the noise floor and some of the challenges there. I'm also going to play a dry and mixed recording to get a sense of the sound quality of these mics in context. I really enjoyed making the music for this video because it reminded me of my 4-track days, lots of hiss, dead and muffled vocals and grating guitars, but you'll be surprised by the results. If you're a bedroom artist, the Behringer SL75c and the Ultravoice XM8500 are really tempting, especially if you're on a budget and in a poorly treated room or just need a bunch of mics to record something live. You may even be tempted to buy this if you are an experienced producer just to try or to have backups. You can never have enough dynamic microphones in my experience. Now for $45 each, all of these mics come with a clip and stand adapter and plastic hard case with padding, which I will be repurposing for more expensive mics. So Behringer state on their website that these microphones are pretty much the same. They have a flat frequency response of 50 Hz and 15 kHz, and they both have a smooth mid-frequency presence rise for excellent voice projection and include a 2-stage pop filter to minimize breath, pop, and other noises. They feature an extremely high output to get your voice out there, and with their tough metal construction and sturdy steel windscreen, you can count on these mics to come through after countless gigs and studio applications. End quote. For all intents and purposes, apart from the diaphragm, housing, and pop filter feature on the XM, these mics are ostensibly the same. At least they appear to be, judging by the marketing and the internals. The mics themselves are really sturdy with a weighty feel, so they feel like they would survive being dropped or stood on, especially for live applications. I will say, however, that the SL mics, while having a solid cylinder, don't feel sturdy at the grill. The mesh has a bit of give, and the plastic seems like it might break if it was stood on really hard or dropped on its head in an awkward angle. The actual mics are inconsistent as well. There's melting apparent on some of the SL parts, and the stickers aren't on right, and you can tell that there wasn't that much care in the factory processes. The XM appeared better made than the SL, but for $45, I'll let it slide as long as it works. The question of output, I think, is an interesting one. I'll demonstrate the output of these mics with two different audio interfaces. The vocals of this recording were recorded through a Behringer with Midas pre's, and the guitar is recorded through an Apogee. Now, these preamps are worlds apart, I'll give you that, but this will show you what kind of quality to expect from a cheaper audio interface versus a more expensive one. The reason I'm drawing attention to the outputs of these microphones is because the higher the output, the less likely you are to have issues with noise floor. However, in this instance, what you'll notice is that with a cheaper preamp, you're probably going to get a lot more of that noise, which is common with dynamic microphones. Now, for this demonstration, I recorded the guitar with the SL75Cs in stereo and through the Apogee interface, and the vocals through the Behringer interface at around about 75% gain. The first sample will demonstrate what the dry signal sounded like, so there will be no adjustments to anything, it's just straight up, and all the levels are going to be set to 0 dB. And I'll also then show you the vocals on their own and the guitar on their own. I want you to listen to the noise floor on the vocals versus the guitar. Now, this will be a quick test of the microphones with a lackluster performance on my part, but I hope it gives you a sense of the sound quality, the imperfections you might face with an artist like me potentially moving around, the dynamics of the voice, the dynamics of the guitar, slight plosives. I think are all realistic and contextual factors to consider, and are common challenges in recording. So I'll show you what that sounds like in a dry recording, and then in a recording that's been mixed. All right, so let's take a listen to the dry samples first, and then we'll listen to the guitars on their own and the vocals on their own.
Soon you'll see all your dreams don't matter but one. The loss you created, loss you fixated on, and you won. You are lost, my impervious girl. You are lost, my impervious one. And I said I'm tired of the fight, closing my eyes tonight, never to open, and look to your tired face, yeah. Soon you'll see all your dreams don't matter but one. The loss you created, loss you fixated on, and you won. You are lost, my impervious girl. You are lost, my impervious one.
So apart from being an average performance, what you might have noticed is on the vocals, when there was silence, there was a lot of white noise or hiss. Now, it's less noticeable when the singing comes in, however, it can become a problem when you have a lot of layering. In parts of the recording, I had 5 vocal layers, and the noise then became somewhat more noticeable. Alright, so let's now take a listen to a mixed version of those dry tracks. What I've done is just balanced out the volume and added a little, bit of EQ and compression, etc. But I've basically just kind of leaned into the noise. I've leaned into all of the imperfections because it kind of reminded me of old 4-track recordings back in the day with my Yamaha MT4X or whatever it was.
Soon you'll see all your dreams don't matter but one. The loss you created, loss you fixated fixated on and you are lost. My impervious girl, you are lost. My impervious one. And I said I'm tired of the fight, closing my eyes tonight, never to open and look to your tired face. Yeah.
Now, high noise floor on dynamic mics is common, but in this instance, the preamps on the Behringer interface, which is a cheaper interface, have a high noise floor when turned up to about 75% or more. At least that's in my experience. Behringer boasts that these mics have high output at something like minus 70 dB, which is good, but when paired with cheaper preamps, the noise floor becomes more apparent. To combat this, you can get a mic booster like a cloud lifter. And I think Behringer also make one that gives you like 25 dB of clean gain, apparently. With the Apogee, the signal was boosted well and very clear with limited noise. And you can hear that in this narration, which is going through the Apogee. I'll switch now to the Behringer and you'll notice a significant amount of noise. So now I'm speaking through the XM8500 through the Behringer UMC 1820, and in order to match the gain of the Apogee, I had to turn the preamp up to 100%. You'll notice a lot of coloration, there's a lot more low end, and a lot more noise, whereas the Apogee had a lot more headroom and the preamps were a lot cleaner with less coloration. Whereas here we're back on the Apogee and hopefully you can tell that it's much cleaner, it's less noisy. When people ask me how to phase their studio upgrades, I always say once you've bought a good instrument, your first upgrade should be a quality audio interface with good preamps and digital to analog converters. Now, you don't need to go nuts and go out and buy a $5,000 audio interface. Something around the $2,000 mark will usually get you some really good preamps and excellent stability and performance. However, until you can do that, there's a couple of things you can do. Firstly, the quality of your performance. So unlike mine in this video, you should always aim to deliver the best performance possible because most people only care about the song, not the mic or the preamp you're using. The other thing is lean into what you have and learn it intimately so you get the most out of your gear. This includes things like optimal mic placement and gain setting and just leaning into the sound that you get from it. So for example, that might be the white noise, it might be the hiss. Make it part of the mix, use it to your advantage, go for a vintage vibe or something like that. So what do I ultimately think about these mics? I actually don't hate them. I really like them. They're good quality build despite some inconsistencies. They provide a good amount of output and sound clean with good preamps and will likely sound good with a dynamic mic booster if that's the way you want to go. For $45 each, I think these mics are versatile, good quality, and will serve you well whether you're a beginner or a pro. In fact, unless something drastic happens, I see these mics becoming cult classics with a review rating of 4.8. It's obvious they are popular and well regarded, and they've been out for about 4 or 5 years now. Plus, they're flying off the shelves, so make sure you get yours. I hope this video was useful, and I'll catch you in the next one.